Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey.
Yo. We are back. Episode number 9. Thermaltake Live. How are you guys doing today? Got a couple people in the chat already. Thanks for jumping in early here. Today we're going to be working on part 2 of our pretty little S300 we got right here. We were working on this guy last stream, doing some fun stuff with it, getting most of it put together, and pretty much is where we left off. And we're just going to go forward here today and hopefully get the build finished up. So going to be a lot of fun. You guys stay tuned as we get some other stuff going here, and then we're going to jump into some tube work today. I'm excited for that. Hope you guys are too. Happy Thursday. We'll get started here. We'll get this stuff going in just a minute. I got all my parts and my water cooling stuff ready. We should be good. Get a little bit of my build music going on in here. We got a nice variety for you guys today. Lay back, chill mood as we do some water cooling. You know, you guys that are out there looking to do some builds, you know, trying to put something new together. You want some ideas, you want some tips on how to do a couple of things. Well, here we are. Got some fun stuff. Oh man, we got some fun cables back here too. Try to keep most of this stuff situated a little bit. We'll get to this in a little bit. Yeah, here we are. This is our S300 Snow. This is a mid-tower chassis, ATX form factor motherboard. And basically what we're doing is we're doing a CPU cooling loop only. And, you know, because we got a 3070 in this guy. And, you know, sadly at the moment we don't have a water block yet, but we're real excited to see, you know, some new water blocks that are going to be coming out from Thermaltake. And a lot of people are in this kind of situation where you want to do some water cooling if it's an AIO or DIY LCS, and say you want to have some options for, you know, just kind of planning for the future and wanting to, you know, maybe water block that GPU later, but you want to kind of get everything all set up now, right? So that's what we're kind of doing today. We're just kind of playing around with this type of a situation, I guess, for like, you know, doing a nice clean little install with some hard tube, cooling our CPU off. Got a 360 copper radiator. This is our CL360, or our C3. No, it's our CLM 360. So it's like the mid thickness. We have 3 different thicknesses for the radiators. With our C360 is basically like an AIO thickness, about 25 mil. Then we go up to the CLM, which is like 40. And then we have the big boy, which is the CL, which is 64. And then that's definitely a, you know, higher capacity radiator and everything for stuff like that. And yeah, I think mid-range CLM is a good fit for a lot of stuff. 360 as well. Little overkill for CPU, but hey, that's awesome. And then it also gives us some nice room for expansion to be able to add more to that by, like, say, hey, we get a water block for our 3070 down the road. Bam, throw that guy in there, change a couple of tubes, some fittings, and you're good to go. You have like everything else all kind of there. And yeah, this is where we left off. So we got the graphics card installed and just testing some fitment, mostly like for like some clearance issues, because I want to see how far over that card's going to come. And, you know, with the card coming over, you know, where you're going to get, because we still haven't put our pump reservoir in yet. And I have our PR22 D5 pump, which is, you know, what we've been using a lot. I mean, distro plates are definitely, you know, the new hotness for what a lot of people are liking. I'm really loving those distros. I think we'll do a distro case build next week, actually, with our View 51. At least that's what I'm kind of planning out to do. So that'll be some fun. A little bit more room to do a little bit more liquid cooling stuff. And, you know, it's one of our newer chassis as well, you know, to kind of show you guys a lot of, you know, options and everything, diving into that case, kind of like how we did here with the S300. But yeah, hey, what's up? I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You jumping back and forth. It's all good, man. It's all good. No worries. But yeah, so this is where we left off. So at this point in the building process, this point in the building process, we're going to kind of start planning out what we're going to do. Hey, thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining. And, you know, just kind of see where everything's going to go. What do we got to do next? What's going to get in our way if we do this first? You know, stuff like that. So you're not looking to either backtrack or just having to do some extra things, you know, in there in that regard. So like a lot of the cable management stuff for like all my fans and everything, I'm not really going to be taking that as a priority to do all the cable management for it on the back. Cause we got a good bit, you know, we got to mess with here. We also have our power supply cables that we got to add in too. So there's some things that I want to basically get, situated before we go forward. And, you know, hopefully with this, it kind of helps you guys out too. If you're building in our Thermaltake S300 Snow, which I got beautifully laid out right here. And yeah, we're going to have some fun going forward with the build. Yeah, just looking at it, seeing where I'm going to go. Let me give you this up. To give you a little idea here. So I got our PR22 D5 pump reservoir. So this is, you know, D5 performance, good all around type of fitment for our pump style. I mean, a lot of this, you know, was, you know, kind of laid out. I mean, we've used these a lot in like the Core P3. It's got the cool little diving board there on the end. And that thing's been awesome for fitment for this. And then, you know, distro plates coming in. You got chassis that are starting to offer more cooling options and everything. So you got a couple of different ways to go. And for this particular one, I wanted to go with our pump cylinders because I love this. I've built hundreds of systems with this. And I've been pretty comfortable with it. There's a couple of things that you want to make sure you go through first before you get it, you know, installed into the case. And yeah, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about that. We'll do some test fitment here with this and just, you know, kind of see how everything's going to fit and flow as far as, you know, what we got going on.
So at what point is this going to go into the trunk of my car so I can take it home?
Oh, maybe you have to wait till after the stream to see what happens. I don't know, Steve. Steve, we have to save these precious little things, Steve. We need them for our build next week.
Need them more.
I know. We know. But no, this is pretty good stuff. I really like using this a lot for just you know, general type of universal fitment. This thing can basically mount just about anywhere. You get these nice little feet, you know, that you can attach on here to the bottom. And then it's got little pads that are just right down here on the bottom as well. And these just kind of help with the vibration from the pump and everything. And then of course you get like screws. Well, it's actually nuts and bolts. And then this would actually pass through. So like one of the things that's real convenient about the S300 is that right here on the bottom, the whole floor is basically perforated, you know, mostly for airflow stuff. There's a filter in here though. So we're going to take the filter out so we can do our nut and bolts to, you know, secure our pump down and everything. But that's definitely not the first thing you want to do. And a lot of that comes down to how you're going to do your tube work and how to get your stuff set up. We got new products actually going to be coming out here. We've already kind of done a sneak peek for our PR, I think it's a 32. And that has a different type of fitment mounting on it because this pump also comes with the clamps that would go on the reservoir here so that you could free mount it against the wall. And basically at that point, you know, you don't use the feet. So it's got like two different applications for it. But the pump, you know, the little feet stands and everything are really great for just kind of mounting and getting, you know, your fitment and everything like that. Now, the other thing too with this is that one of the things I just love about this pump reservoir is that this part right here just unscrews. It's real simple and easy to be able to take this apart, to clean it, do your maintenance. There is 0 screws involved with just removing something like this. Here's my cylinder, here's my top cap, and here's my pump reservoir. This all itself, you'd take both of the feet off, and then you'd unscrew this. This would separate the pump from the actual housing. And yeah, you can go ahead and just start rinsing it out, cleaning it out. You know, you want to get a Q-tip down in here. You know, just kind of clean this out for just general maintenance or whatever. I love how easily this thing disassembles and then reassembles for doing my maintenance, or if I'm just going to be, you know, just doing my building in general. Because sometimes I'll want to change my downstem. And I'll put my downstem on one side or the other, depending on where my pump cap is going to tighten. And as far as, you know, how that's going to secure on there. And yeah, I got some tricks on that side too that I want to show you. The other thing is that we also make a mini version of this. So if you wanted to go with something that has a smaller capacity reservoir, this would be like our PR15 D5. And then this basically just gives you a short stack on here. And then with that one, it would have a different downstem length because this one would be kind of long for this. I mean, it would work, but the other one would have a shorter downstem on it. But just to kind of show you some differences as far as, you know, two different products that we sell that are basically going to get the job done for you either way. And then it all kind of lines up to like, you know, what do you want to do? How do you want to put it together? So like if I had this one here, you know, and I kind of lay out my pump reservoir right here inside the case, you know, I got this nice little spot for it right in front of my radiator. And, you know, I could go with a short stack like this. And then this is going to give me more tube length from my top radiator as far as my return that's going to go back down into the reservoir itself, you know, completing the loop. But then at the same time, you know, and that's also, you know, save space, right? So when you're looking at something like this, you need a shorter stack on there. You can always go that route and use that to save some space if there's some clearance issues that you would have. Or a lot of it too, it really kind of depends on what you want to do with your coolant and everything. I mean, if you want to really show that coolant off and everything, and you want to show that big crazy tank full of coolant spinning around and moving, you can go with like the PR22. Now I can also say, like, from a little bit, like if you wanted to do some custom modding, we don't make a taller version of this, but we do make a taller just reservoir itself, which would be the R33. And then the difference with that is that's a taller reservoir chamber. So you have a taller chamber with that one. And I know a lot of people out there that would get just that reservoir with this pump reservoir combo, and they would just change out that center cylinder part so they would get a taller stack on. I've seen a lot of people do that with like Tower 900. Or if you're looking at, you know, other pump reservoirs out in the market too, just the same. You have a lot of options there as far as what's going to work best for the space that you got. Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in. Who won the giveaway? We had a fantastic winner that got it. He is super excited about it, and I believe it's already on its way.
Hey, he's actually in the chat right now.
Oh, is he? Oh, he is. Oh, hey, there he is. Hey, Mike. Since my old monitor uses VGA, is it okay if I buy a VGA to HDMI adapter for the PC for now? VGA, no way. I would probably look into sourcing a new monitor. There's, I mean, ideally, because your outputs are going to be HDMI or DisplayPort. You're going to ideally want to go with DisplayPort for that. You're going to get the best experience out of it. I mean, with it having an NVIDIA RTX 3080 inside, I'd look into a G-Sync capable monitor. You know, something along the lines, if you're looking like a 24-inch or 27-inch, you know, G-Sync 144, they ain't too bad. They ain't too bad out there. And then, I mean, that depends too on resolution. You know, if you're going to go 1080p or you're going to go 1440p or whatever, you got some options with it. But VGA is not going to convert. So, because VGA is an analog signal, where like if it was DVI, you could convert it to HDMI and you could get away with that. Or like if it had HDMI on the back and everything. I mean, you're going to have to look at a couple of things as far as what you want to do. But Thermal Mic, if you asked my recommendation, I'd look at a G-Sync monitor that supports DisplayPort and get the best that you can get out of it, or, you know, deal with what you can. Because see, the problem right now is that that monitor is likely not going to work with your setup. I honestly don't think you can convert VGA like that. And if you did, it's going to be a terrible experience and your resolution will be very limited. But, you know, it all kind of comes with it. But yeah, I would probably say, but yeah, you know, temporary solution is always the best way to go about it. Then, you know, do some research. There's going to be some good deals out there too, you know, not just for our wonderful Thermaltake products, but a lot of stuff that's going to be out there that's going to go with your Thermaltake system. You know, we got Black Friday coming up, holidays coming up. You know, a lot of people are going to be doing some deals. So yeah, man, good luck with the shopping and everything like that. And hopefully that system arrives to you safe and sound, my friend. Congratulations again, dude. That's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you. I'm excited to hear from you once you get it up and running. But yeah, back on our wonderful S300. Yeah, Black Friday's coming. We're gonna have you get some, and you know, Thermaltake, we're gonna have some stuff too and everything like that. I'm gonna try to do my best to get you guys the latest scoop on what we got going on as we get closer to Black Friday, so that I can give you guys some tips on some deals that we got for some products that we're gonna have some specials on. So try to get some of that stuff worked out for you. Let you guys know what we're doing. But in the meantime, let's do some liquid cooling. So yeah, PR22D5. We're gonna go with this guy. We're gonna just use it how it comes with the standard reservoir chamber that we have. We got a top cap here that we can basically rotate and kind of figure out how we're gonna do our G and a quarter, because you get 2 G and a quarters off the top. And then your downstem is gonna determine what your return is gonna be, because you don't want the downstem returning on the opposite side, because then it's just gonna kind of splash in there. You don't want to deal with that where it's gonna cause, you know, stuff with the loop, the bubbles and everything. It's gonna give you too much turbulence. With that, something like this, you fill it up above the downstem and everything like that, that will start creating the vacuum and getting all the air out of it and everything. And then, you know, after a good, 20 minutes, maybe even almost like an hour, most of those micro bubbles will kind of dissipate from you, and you just get a nice smooth system. Kind of like, what I got going on back here with my DIY LCS stream PC. And I mean, I'm running a distro plate on that. And yeah, I did full tube work on that and everything. I just can't not do hard tubing. It's just been so easy for me, and it just works.
It just works.
It just works. The display ports are 1.2 or 1.4. I think it's 1.4 on 30 series. You'd have to double check. But it's RTX 3080. Should be 1.4. But a lot of that's going to determine what you're going to do. I mean, kind of decide price point wise on resolution and everything. Your 3080 is going to destroy anything in 1080p. So kind of keep that in mind and everything like that too. My personal opinion, 1440p is the sweet spot. 4K is definitely awesome too, but the text and all that, I'm just not there yet, or I'm not ready for it yet. I mean, I really like my 1440p or 2K res, I guess is what a lot of people would say. And it looks pretty dang good. Looks pretty dang good. So we're gonna have our pump reservoir. We're gonna get this guy laid in here first, but we do got to take care of a couple of things. But either way, I wanted to show you guys a little bit about that, and kind of some options that we have, because we have a variety of these different pump reses, and you can kind of place them just about anywhere. Mostly in a vertical type of environment. I know some people like to do them horizontally and everything. It can give you some problems and such like that. But I mean, if that's what you're going for the look and the mod and everything, you just got to be careful on the fill. Makes it a little bit more hard. Yeah. So I figured. See, Steve's on it. I figured it was. I try to pay attention. Try. I try. All right. So with our board TT dude, we are gonna, let's see if we can wrangle some of these cables. All right. So we still have the rest of the power cables that we got to install for, all the fun stuff that needs power, right? We got the 24 pin. We'd have serial ATAs if we were using an SSD, but we're going flash on that for the storage. So that's all good to go. Don't have to worry about that. PCI Express. So we're going to need one of those dudes. And then a Molex connection specifically for our D5 pump. And then, yeah, I got EPS and 24 already here off the semi-modular power supply. So that's why those guys aren't in here. But that if you had a fully modular power supply, then it would have those 2 additional cables that you need. Because basically you got three primary things you got to plug in. 1, your 24 pin for your power to your motherboard. 2, your EPS or your CPU, your 8 pin for, giving your CPU power. And then 3 for your graphics card. And then the thing is too, is that most of these guys now are like a 6+2, and you usually get 2 of them off the end. So you can either do dual 8s, dual 6s, or an 8 and a 6 in either combination. So it makes it pretty easy for even the newer cards that are out there, because most of them, like the 3070 is running an 8 and a 6, where like 3080 is gonna run like dual 8s. And then you get some other ones that are gonna run triple 8s, so you're gonna need 2 of these guys. So it's just stuff you gotta think about, when you're planning your power. Oh, you received it already. Oh, nice. I hope it arrived nice and safe for you. We packed it I hope you like the pack job that we did on this bad boy.
We spent extra time on it.
We did the extra special treatment for you.
It's very spicy.
It's good stuff, man. I hope it's all good, man. I really, really do. I'm so excited you just got it. Yeah, I agree with Steve on the 144. I'm definitely a big fan of that. I mean, my monitor is actually 165, but I mean, you know, if I'm chilling above like 120, I'm usually pretty good.
And there's Mike with that 165 hertz flex.
But I don't have 30 series, so sad face. I don't even have the TI. Come on, Steve.
What? I have an overpriced 3070. Okay.
You have an overpriced 3070. Premium price.
Premium.
But yeah, we just hanging out. Oh, nice, dude. I'm really glad the pack job is amazing. I know the guys that do it, you know, watch the stream too, so they're probably going to be pretty stoked to see that. I'll definitely let them know. Yeah, feel free to hit us up, man, if you need anything, have any questions on the build as you get that bad boy unpacked there. Happy birthday. Happy belated birthday. It's an awesome present. All right. So, last time, I already had these little cable dudes already kind of chilling in here for my 24 and my EPS. So we're just going to kind of get these guys connected so that way they're, for the most part, just kind of out of the way. EPS can get a little fun up there when you start getting a lot of stuff going. 24 ain't too bad, but at least I can get like a base idea. The other thing I want to do too is that since it's got a power cover on it with the power supply, before I put the pump reservoir and I start doing the tube work stuff and everything, get all my cables plugged in and get everything, because I got access. I got access right now, so. Just kind of see where I want to fit this bad boy. I think I can sneak him. Yep. Sneak his little cute little connector right up in there. 24 is going to go right in here. Now, the other thing too with the 24 pin, especially when you're doing like DIY LCS stuff, is I usually jumper the power supply. So I'll have like I'll have one of these guys. So this is just like a 24 pin jumper. We include these on a lot of our kits. If you buy the kit straight up, you'll get one of these cool little convenient jumpers and plugs right into the 24 pin. So that way you can jumper the power supply. So ideally all you're doing is getting power just to the pump. And then with that, you know, everything else is off. So if there was a potential issue for a leak or anything with the tube stuff and everything, you're all good because everything's off. There's no power going through it. I mean, it's basically best case scenario. And we always like to practice with stuff like that. So we'll be doing that later once we get that far. And just get this guy plugged in. Yeah, I hope you guys are all just hanging out having some fun. And then see, I'll figure out the cable stuff later as far as what I'm gonna do with all the cabled management and the million zip ties I'm gonna need. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna need that many. It'll be pretty easy. Just gonna have to kind of lay it out, but we got to get everything put together first. It's usually what I like to do. Deal with that stuff later. Right, Steve?
Don't drop TT, dude.
Oh, he's good.
He's the homie.
I know. If he falls, he understands. Oh, that's great. Yeah, and the other thing too that we'll deal with is these other cables while we still have our access. Now, like same thing like what I was saying last time with the power covers. The power covers got a nice little cutout here for that PCI Express cable. So it's not coming out this little side and just kind of looping around. It's got a little separate cutout so you get a nice, kind of flat edge right here with the way the power cover is. And I like that because it's just a little detail. That guy's just going to go up and around behind the graphics card and you really don't see it. But we do got to make sure we plug it in. And TT dude, just don't worry, bro. You are good. I'm just gonna work right around you here for a minute, man. I mean, you can always plug these guys in beforehand. It doesn't matter. Whatever works best for you.
You know, personally, I like plugging all that stuff in first.
I kind of do too. It just kind of depends. I think more or less is just because like live stream wise and everything, as I was going about it, it was stuff that I was more like, hey, I got to talk about this or talk about that, you know? And then some things kind of just slip through, but it's not like all is not lost. All right, we got our Molex plugged in. So our Molex guy, I'm just gonna kind of tuck him in here because we're gonna be using him to power the pump because we don't have really anything else that needs Molex power besides our one controller we have because I decided to use the W7. And that really kind of offsets a little bit because then you're looking at the RGB systems and everything. But I mean, you can always choose what pump and everything that's gonna work for you. I just kind of wanted to show off that W7 because it's just, you know,
it's gorgeous.
It looks really good. It looks really good. We're not going to do like a full boot into Windows and stuff, so we're not going to do that stuff, but we're definitely going to get the system built today. And the other thing too that I like to do is like with like the cable or with the graphics card and everything, I like to leave it in so I can see where my space is going to be, see where my limitations are going to be as far as how my tubes all going to go in there. So, but we got our cable ran, and that was what was important. We wanted to make sure we got our cable ran through the back before we added our pump reservoir guy, threw him in there. But yeah, we're getting close. We're getting real close with this. I'm excited. I'm real excited. Get my mic fitted, excited. So then for this, as I was kind of looking at the build, I'm like looking at like what I could do. And, you know, there's different ways that you can do your tube runs. And like, as far as like where you're going to start, going from A to B and then B to C and then C to D, you know, complete the loop. I mean, you're ideally looking at with a CPU cooling setup, 3 tubes. So you basically have your one tube is going to come off your pump reservoir. That's going to be your first tube. That guy's going to come out. We're going to go into the CPU block. Then once we go into the CPU block, we got to definitely come back out of the CPU block and we're going to return back into our radiator. And then once we go back into our radiator, so that way that coolant that's been heated from doing the heat exchange off the CPU is going to go into our radiator so it can be cooled again. And then we're going to return that back into the top of our PR22. This is definitely something that we, you know, I see us do here at Thermaltake, and I really like the fact that I have an option to do a G and a quarter off the top versus doing 2 ports down the side and you have to run it down the side down into here. The other thing too for that is a lot of maintenance stuff. I couldn't tell you how awesome it is to be able to just take that return tube off. And then once you have that return tube taken out, you can basically just take this whole top off like this. Like if I was going to change the color or I wanted to do proper maintenance on my coolant, besides taking like everything apart and pull it all out, I could have something like this set up in the system. I would have all my tubes and everything in here, except for the one that's coming from my radiator to my pump reservoir. And then, I mean, with say something like this, get a little piece of soft tube, little G and a quarter barb fitting on here. I can now take this guy, replace the tube that was going into the reservoir, and then I can put this into the radiator and then just have this pouring out into like a bucket. And then with that, now I have the reservoir open because the top's off. Oh, don't fall. The top's off. And then I can just basically take a gallon of distilled water and just pour that in there. And that's going to drain out through the reservoir as I'm filling it. And then that's going to push all the fresh distilled water through to kind of get all the other stuff back out. And instead of it going back into the loop and just cycling, because a lot of people like to do that, put some stuff in and then clean it out. I'm not a fan of that. Just distilled water, cleaning it out. I usually don't have too many problems at all. I mean, it might take a couple of gallons if I'm changing a color, especially if it's a rich color like red. Red is real tough. Green, like a neon green, stuff like that. Those can be a little bit more difficult. But I mean, if you're dealing with clear or a transparent coolant versus a solid coolant, or just, you know, some other stuff. I mean, doing something like this, setting this up, you got a bucket, you start pouring your distilled water just straight in there. That's going to start clearing up. What I'll do then is once I have that to start clear, you know, kind of getting more transparent because the distilled water's in there, then I'll just let that run for a little bit. You know what I mean? I'll just take this and I'll just put this back down into the reservoir and I'll just let it sit in there. And then I'll let that just kind of churn for a bit and then I'll do it again. Maybe take a second gallon. I mean, they're what, less than $1 for a gallon of distilled water at the market for the most part, maybe cheaper. And that will help me clean out my system. Like if I wanted to do a color change or if I'm just doing my basically year maintenance and stuff. Rocking Intel graphics there. Nice. Nice, dude. Do you use, so no Minecraft RTX?
What?
No?
You said Minecraft? What?
No RTX. He has integrated graphics, Steve.
Why?
Should we warn him?
Yes.
No, I'm just hating. I'm just hating. Hate. Sorry, just kidding. Everybody's got to start somewhere, right? And you probably don't have integrated graphics, but it's funny that you say it like that because then everybody doesn't really know until you say something. And that's even the funnier part, right? Yeah, PR22D5, we got this kind of set up here. We're gonna, yeah, we got our cables. The cables aren't probably gonna be in the way, you know, for the graphics card as far as plugging it in, but you know, that's some basic stuff as far as maintenance wise and everything. Also, you know, as I mentioned on the last stream, but you know, make sure once you get your radiator mounted, make sure those Gina quarter, because like our pump reservoir, or sorry, our radiators have 5 ports on them. So you get 2 in the front, 2 in the back on the top, and then you get 1 drain port at the bottom. So definitely make sure that you got the drain port or you're doing a plug on that. Or if, you know, on the back for the 2 ports that you're not using, make sure you get those stop plugs in there and make sure those guys are nice and tight. It's not something you forget about and you start seeing, you know, the case just kind of leaking at the bottom there and wondering where it's coming from and stuff and freaking out. So always try to make sure, you know, a lot of that stuff's, you know, good to go. Now, when you're dealing with something a little bit more compact, because like we're putting a 360 in here for maximum cooling for the case, but at the same time, it limits us from being able to put like a drain port or doing like a 90-degree fitting where I would have a fitting going to a quick connect that's going to come off the bottom of the radiators, you know, to drain the radiator and stuff. You always also have an option off the pump reservoir like this, where I've put a 90-degree fitting, but I could also do a 90-45. And then with a 90-45 on here, I would have the 90, of course, going up to my tube that's going to go into my system. But on the other side, I could put another 90, for example, and then have that go to a quick connect. And then I got a little quick connect guy there. Let me hold on.
Show me the money.
I don't want to spill my soapy water. Oh, here. So what I could do, see that? So you'd basically have like a 90-45, and then I would have like a quick, this would be like my quick connect that I would have. So this would just be like an open and close valve. Talked about it last time. But then I could take this and I could put this here off the end of this. And then it would give me basically an option, or well, hold on, I put it on the wrong, whatever. You'll figure it out. But this would then, yeah, cause see, I would need another extension fitting because this one's a female to female. So I would just need a male to male Gina quarter, like a little 10 mil adapter guy. And then he would go right here on the end. And then what this would do is this would give me my 90-degree for my tubing. And then I would have this right here. And then this would be, you know, rotatable. So then I could just kind of tuck this out of the way when I don't need it. Open it up, you know, turn it around. I got this right here. Soft tube with a barb fitting, plug that in, and then this will help drain the system out, you know, to get at least the majority of the coolant out. I mean, you're basically getting everything out but the radiator just by a simple turn and drain. Gets the majority of it out. And then most of the time what I'll do is just take, now that I have that one, I would have like a, you know, I take one of the tubes off. I just blow into the tube to just kind of push the rest of the coolant out, and you can get most of it out that way, at least enough to be able to remove the product so that you could do like a full, you know, full maintenance, full clean on it and everything. A PS5 over a 3080. Tough choice. Tough choice. PS5 doesn't have a browser.
Like I said in the comments, there's nothing wrong with console. As long as you know that the PC is the superior choice for immersive performance oriented.
All hail the PC. All hail the PC. All hail the PC. May the gods bless us with frames.
May your frames be high and your temperatures
be low, right? It's all good. Everybody, I mean, I think, the funny thing is that I think like, a few years back, a lot of people were kind of like, no, I got a PC, I don't need a console. And then now everybody has like everything. Everybody has both a PC and a console. You gotta have both, right? You gotta have it all. But yeah, PC Master Race for the win. For the win. Okay. So pump reservoir, we're gonna take a peek at where that's gonna go. Make sure we got some good clearance with this. Just kind of seeing how we're gonna lay this out, right here. And the other thing too is that I'm not gonna mount this. I'm gonna leave this loosey-goose just kind of stand in here, and I'll show you why when we start doing the tube runs. As far as why I didn't don't just screw it down and secure it to one spot and just be like, that's the only way. This is the way. That you can I got some options here. I mean, I don't have a lot, but I do have some movement, probably about a good inch, maybe 2 inches or more, as far as moving it front to back in the case. And then that can really make a benefit for you two ways. One, as far as just giving you ease of doing the tube run as you're doing your 90-degree bend and you want it to be perfect, and maybe you just got to move the pump just a little bit, and then bam, it's perfect, And then once you have that set, then it's kind of locked in. Same thing like what I was saying about the radiator. The radiator, I can adjust the height on the radiator up and down. And then that's going to determine a lot as far as from going from my rad to my CPU block. I want to do a nice straight tube run and just say it's just, it's just a little bit down like that. I can have a little bit of play with the radiator, move it up and down and just get it perfect on the first tube. Then with the second tube, got to do some work. But it makes it easier for you, giving you, it gives you a little break. Gives you a little break in all the fun stuff with PETG hard tubing.
This is the way.
And then the other thing I love about PETG is just the reactivation. Being able to reheat it, reapply, do simple little changes to it. That's something I cannot achieve with acrylic. And I like the durability as well. I never have really a problem with it. And we also, of course, sell PETG tubing, so And I like to use the 16 mil OD, so we're going big boy on that tube. We're not dealing with little straws or anything like that. It just looks too small. We gotta have some.
You're like a
big, thick. Have that pump do its job, and it looks cool too. You get that nice big tube in there. All right, so we're just kind of looking at a couple of things. I'm already saying right now, like I'm looking at like the top cap. I'm probably gonna rotate it a little bit, make sure I get, where it's sealed. But at the same time, I'm gonna look at my 2 different Gina quarters and decide which one I want to go to. But I'll worry about that later. Let's see if I can. Maybe I'll tuck some of these guys in here. We're getting a little wild. I just don't want to run them over. Just wrangle these guys in here a little bit, just so we can do our work. Yeah, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? You guys got any questions on anything? Questions? How you guys liking the music? You guys liking the music? Is it good? Volume's chill? You guys chill? Just relaxing on a Thursday? Nice. That's a great word. Cool. Okay.
This is a nice comment on YouTube. Thermal mics, thick and beefy tubes. Order yours today.
I love how you threw beefy in there. Had to have beefy.
Yes.
Is that on like the menu at Taco Bell?
Oh, now I want Taco Bell.
Yeah, I know, me too. Now we need some tacos. Oh, it's not Tuesday. No. Oh man, those KFC pot pies are bomb. Music, royalty free stuff. It's just a station that I found some cool little jams on. Variety of, I like a lot of, you know, just some kind of chill music like this. You know what I mean? It just kind of makes you think, gives you a little bit of inspiration. You know, kind of breaks up a lot of, you know, if you're just sitting there dead silence with this stuff, you know, you gotta have some fun with this. But yeah, it's just all royalty free stuff. And see, that's the funny thing too about when you say like tube lube, because like you really don't need lube for your tube.
Blasphemy! Lies!
I mean, soapy water is all you need. The cleanup on it is like way better.
And it smells great.
You know, you get those nice. I don't know if I can even say the name. Is it copyrighted? You know that? Yeah.
Probably.
Probably. Those soft dishpan hands.
Just get the delicious scent of lavender.
Lavender or lemon. Get the lemon scent. You know, you got a lot of options with that, you know? DIY, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you only hear me talking. You don't hear any music at all? Figured you would. It's all good. I don't want it too overbearing. You know, just kind of chill. Bump it up a little bit just for you. All right. Enough of this talk. Let's get to bending. Yeah, I think. What else we got to do? I don't think we got too much to do. Oh, I know one thing we got to do. We have to get ready for this. And in order to get ready for this, we're going to have to do a quick change. So I'm going to be, just bear with me.
Oh, he's getting suited up.
Oh.
Actually, that's a question I have for you. Is this like your power suit?
Oh man,
Your bending power suit?
my not get my clothes dirty suit. No, we're gonna go out and barbecue here in a minute.
Really?
You guys excited? I'm excited. Gotta get this. There we go. We also, you know, gotta do a little change of Rooski. Gotta play the part. A little bam. Right?
I'll take a latte. Okay, thanks.
How many lumps of sugar would you like, sir? One lump or two?
All of them.
Yeah. Now we have powered up. We're good. Dude, look at that. I'm loving this thing, you know. Just take it to my favorite barbecue, you know, just hanging out. Got this right here. I got my cool little pockets. I can put all my, you know, I got my wrench. Got my 24 pin. No, I'm just kidding. That's so stupid. All right. Yeah, you know, I mean, stuff like this, you got to have some fun with it. That's what DIY LCS is all about. You know, hanging out on a weekend, building that PC, but you got to build it by Saturday so you can play all Saturday night into Sunday, no sleep because you just got it done, right?
Who needs sleep?
Exactly. All right, so now we're going to need some stuff, right? We're going to have to do some bending. We're going to need some things. Tubing. You're gonna need some tube, right? We're gonna need some soapy water. Keep this as clean as possible. Get it? Couple of cutter options. So got a cool little pipe cutter here that I use for like I guess you would say just like the quick little cuts, just so I can get it closer or, you know, get it so I could fit it in the case. And then I got like a miter box and saw that I like to use a lot. You know, just something simple, straightforward like this. A lot of times with this, I love it because I can cut like just a razor thin little piece just because it's gonna make it just, you know, and this does a good job and it's super cheap. That saw will cut like 40 systems. So you're good there. You're good there.
Hey, Mike.
What's up, baby?
For those interested in that glorious looking hat of yours, how can they get one?
You know, that's something that I would love to be able to do, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm showing this stuff off, because I want to know what you guys think. You like this hat? You know, it's classy. It gives me, you know what, to be honest with you, you know, it's just kind of funny, but it gives me that AC/DC type of feel. I get that hat and everything, and I'm just like, I just want to play some AC/DC. Just
Copyrighted.
Copyrighted. Can't do it. I wish I could play that music because I'd be cranking that right now. Yeah, no, it's a cool little hat. You guys like? Little TT logo. We got some stuff in the works we're planning out. We got some Thermaltake live stuff we'd like to do. Little bending apron, you know? Bend by day, barbecue by night.
Heat gun holsters.
Heat gun holsters, you know? Don't tempt me. Is this how you hold the heat gun, Steve? Right here, right? This
Yes.
is the cold.
You're holding it wrong. You need to have more of your hand on it. There you go. There it is.
Like I'm soldering.
Yes.
Get a nice heat gun, you know? But holster's kind of dangerous. Not for a heat gun. But yeah, insert. You're gonna need that insert. So we're gonna have a variety of insert. And then, I mean, you know, if you want to do some hard tube bends and everything and you want to get some nice clean ones, I'd highly recommend getting a mandrel kit. That's going to go and accommodate with the tube size that you're going to use, because the mandrel kit's going to be specific to the tube that you're going to use. Because they're, for example, I have my little bending board right here.
Bending board.
Hashtag got bends. But I got 180s, 9045s, and 360 mandrels that are designed specifically for our Thermaltake PETG 16 millimeter OD tubing. So
No
this
lie. I
this
messed
stuff.
with those, and that mandrel kit's amazing. It makes it so much easier.
If you want to get basically a perfect 90, or you want to get a uniform 90 like over and over and over again, and you want to clean like the same time, couple bending practices with this 90, it's real nice and convenient. I use it for a lot of different things, especially with the 180s too, because then I can it just holds it in there and gives me a nice angle. Then I can, you know, play with it a little bit if I want to, you know, kind of stretch it out. Look at the tubing. Look at the wall thickness on that. I can't talk about this enough, that there are people out there that have tubing that have thin walls, and that causes so many problems for so many people, but they don't understand that the tube wall can affect you as far as just having, you know, a nice solid connection. The advantage of this is that this allows you to do a lot of reactivation and you get a nice sturdy connection with your fittings. The disadvantage of this, it takes a little bit longer to heat, but it's really not that bad. So I wouldn't really say that it would be too much. Oh, the last tube bender, that's cool. We should do some fun stuff with that and everything.
You sell your bending board.
What do you mean? Did you just pick this up at Home Depot, bro? Just cut this down. Blah, blah, blah. Would you guys like a bending board from us that's all like Thermaltaked out, has the mandrels on it, like ready to go? We'll do like a kit, maybe. You know, like the board, mandrels, give you a good piece of insert, because you're gonna be doing this on the real, not this little like, hey, here you go, let's test it out. Right? Everybody's sad with that. You come in here and you flop this bad boy.
Oof.
Now you're in business.
And don't forget the most important part. Hashtag got bends.
Hashtag got bends, baby. Hashtag stay tuned. All right. So that's just extra that I leave around because I do some crazy stuff. And I have access to it. But I usually like to have like a variety of pieces, but that's definitely more on my side of things than I would say what most people would have. Most people are gonna have like one piece of this because they bought like a kit that came with our tubing, maybe some fittings, and it's got the insert in here. Mandrel kit comes with an insert as well, so you'll get that with the mandrel kit, just to mention too, and that makes it convenient and everything. If you guys ever had a situation where you need some longer insert or anything like that, feel free to hit me up. Hit me up, Thermal Mike on Facebook. I'll help you out. Jump in our Discord and everything. We got Discord action going on there. It's a great place too. You got a build that you're doing and need some insert and everything like that, hit me up.
We're lonely.
All right. Okay, so let's get the stuff that we don't exactly need out of the way. And then for this, I'm going to be using our white C Pro fittings. So these are a 16 millimeter OD fitting. I love these fittings. These are best fitting on the market. I want one that thing with just put the little sign in front that says change my mind. Because I just love the options that you have with this. And I'll show you. All right, so we got our bend that we want to do. I'm going to say the first thing that I want to do is I want to do the bend from the pump reservoir going into the CPU. Ideally for this, because of, you know, just kind of where we have it situated, we're going to be looking at coming up out of the pump because I put a 90-degree fitting here so that I already got that 90 going straight up. So I can have a nice straight tube that's going to come up. I'm going to go across my graphics card over the top, and we're going to go into the bottom of the G1/4 port on the CPU block. Now, you can do this a bunch of different ways. I mean, one of the easiest things that you can do is you can just get a piece of tubing, you can heat it up, and you can freestyle bend it, plug it in there, kind of do like a cool little shape with it and everything. And, you know, it can be pretty straightforward. It doesn't have to be pretty. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect 90s, perfect 45s, you know, like whatever you guys like to do. You can do a lot of different things. As long as you get to A to B and that tube sits flat on the base plate of the fitting, not gonna have a problem. But of course we want good aesthetics and we want to do something fun with it just the same.
So I have a question for you.
Oh, what's up?
Your opinion, which one of these bends do you think is going to be the hardest?
So, and you know, that's a good point, because I would say probably the most difficult bend that I'm gonna have is gonna be this bend. And ideally, because this one's gonna be a two-part bend. Like for example, you could do it a couple ways, right? But for what we wanna do, we're gonna come up, we're gonna do a 90 bend going this way towards the CPU block. Then we're gonna do another 90 bend going into the CPU block itself. Now you're gonna say to yourself, where do I start? What do I do? Where do I go? Well, here, let me give you a little bit of fun stuff that I've done. Now, one way you can do it, of course, is you can start from the pump reservoir and you can do a nice big bend, you know, have a nice 90 bend, extra tubing length and everything, so you can cut it down short and everything. And then you're gonna have your bend that's gonna come across the GPU, but then you gotta do the bend turning into the case that's gonna go into the CPU block. And then that's gonna be very specific as far as the length that you're gonna want on that and trying to get it lined up going into the case. For me personally, I like to start from the CPU block, because then with the CPU block, I can do a 90 coming out and then bend it over across the GPU. And then all I have to do is do the bend going down into the pump reservoir. And like I was mentioning with the pump reservoir, I have room to play. I can move this around front and back to give me a little bit of tolerance. As far as if I didn't get the bend just right, I can just move the pump just right and everything's good. And then that, because the CPU block, it ain't going nowhere, folks. If you didn't know, newsflash. That guy is right there, and that's what you get. I like how we put this nice plastic sleeving on all the tubes. Every tube is individually wrapped for your pleasure.
Oh,
Look at that. And then you know, I always like to take a look at the tube. You know, make sure it doesn't have like any cracks in it or anything like that, or something from like the manufacturing process. Now we got something like that. Now we got to figure out how long we're gonna do it. Like, how long do we need to be? I mean, we're gonna use this big giant piece and have to deal with it? No, we don't want to do that. So we want to get like an idea as far as like how we're gonna bend this. Now, that's a little bit big. Maybe something like this one. I think this one because it has a screw in it. Now I have my insert. My insert can do a lot of things. But this insert is mine. No. With the insert, I can use this kind of as a guideline to figure out how long my tube's got to be. Ballpark, right? I mean, we're not really worried about making the bend perfect with no cuts going straight into the block perfect. Don't stress yourself out about that. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want both your ends to be a little bit long so that you can cut it to fit, as we're basically going to go long on the CPU coming off, as well as we're going to go long going down for the pump reservoir, so that I can trim it up and I can trim it in and just kind of get it fitted in there. It takes a little bit more work, but it saves you money because then you get those bends better the first time, which, you know, we're going to see here in a minute how I do, and go with just kind of trimming it to fit, and you get it in there and you don't have to worry about that length where the bend is going to be. That going saying like, well, my bend is going to be here and this is going to be the end point where it's going to connect to my fitting, and then I'm going to bend it this way and then I'm going to be perfect because I measured it. You know, you can do that, but there's a lot of other ways to do it just the same. So let's see. So I have our insert. This is a pretty decent length. Just trying to see how I can kind of show you guys this too. Oh, I got an idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the C Pro fitting on here, just so that I have it in there. So see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the insert in to the fitting, and then this is going to give me kind of an idea on what my length is going to be. So as I look at this, I'm going to get an idea as far as like, okay, this is too long because now I got this big loop. I got this big loop that's right here. And then this part going into the CPU and everything is a little bit long as well. It will do the job for what I want to do as far as lengthwise goes and everything. But when you're doing something more, I guess you would say intricate, where you want to do like a spiral, or you want to do a crazy, you know, coming off a straight, then you want to do a drastic change. Something like this will really save you a lot of time figuring out what that length is going to be, cut your tube, and then you kind of have a good idea on where you're going versus just having to start with the whole thing going across, you know, getting your tube work and stuff. So what I'll do is I'm just going to lay my insert out. Just kind of mark it here with my finger. Because I already know that this is going to be longer than what I'm going to use. So I'm not really too worried about it. Save that piece over to the side. Okay. I almost kind of want to take the graphics card out so you guys can see more of this, but you'll see the bends here in a second. So as I have the case and I have it laid out, I have my pump reservoir here. I'm going to take my tube and I'm going to have my tube going in. We're going to bend it 90 that way, and then we're going to bend it going into the CPU block. But like I was saying, we're going to start with the CPU block first. So we did the 90-degree bend that's going to come over this way, and then all we have to worry about is bending it down to go into the pump, because then I can just kind of, you know, I got some movement options here where it's not going to block the back of the graphics card, because that's important. You want to make sure it's, you know, not going to hit that card as far as lengthwise goes, and it's going to be a good space fitment as far as where the pump is going to be, you know, in regards to like your fans and radiator and all that stuff. Just kind of keep some stuff handy. Other little things that could come in and help me out a lot. Okay, so with our tube that we have, we're gonna go ahead and put our insert in. I like to use just a nice mild soapy water. So this is just regular water with soap. I'm not worried about using distilled water because I'm gonna rinse everything out beforehand as far as all the tubes, because I want to get all the little cut pieces and everything like that out of those tubes before I put the coolant through, because that's the last thing you want hitting into your pump. But yeah, just some basic soapy water. And if I haven't mentioned it before, I use the soapy water mostly because the soap prevents the water from evaporating as fast. And that makes it a little bit easier for me. And then I can also push the insert all the way inside into the tube. I have the insert basically flush on this side, and it's almost there on the other side and everything. Get a couple of rags for yourself, just so that way you can, you know, clean everything up. Because you're gonna have a little bit of water spillage. A little bit.
Nice and clean.
Nice and squeaky clean. And then, you know, you're probably going to be asking, so I'll just answer it now. I'm just going to use like a coarse drywall screw, this guy right here. And I can use this just to screw it into the insert and just pull it out like popping a cork out of a wine bottle. But we'll just keep that off to the side for now. Okay, we got our bending board. We got all this stuff set up. Let's go ahead and let's switch angles so you guys can see a little bit better. So here's our bending board that we have. Here's our tube that we're going to use here for our system. And what we're going to do first is we're going to bend our 90-degree for our CPU. So that way this is going to come off the CPU block, going to come over, and then we'll do our second bend going down into our pump reservoir. And of course, we're going to need a heat gun. Oh, before I guess I get started, let me explain this too. I'm going to take my tube and I'm going to kind of just eyeball how far out I'm going to come out of the CPU block, because I want to see how far out I'm going to come. And I want to make sure that it's going to be long enough so that way I can trim it back so it can go in further and line up with everything as far as pump reservoir goes. And that way I'm not worrying about the exact length of where this is going to be, where the 90 is going to be going across the GPU and then down into the pump res. I'm also going to take the opportunity to take out the plugs on the CPU block, because we're going to be putting our base plate for our G 1/4 C Pro fitting as well. Oh, here, come here, baby. Put that in as well. A lot of times the reason why I like this a lot is because with that base plate that I would have, it's a nice center point. I know exactly where it's going to go. I know exactly where this tube's going to end on the wall of the fitting, so that I know exactly how long it's going to have to be. So we'll just go ahead and we'll mock this up. Kind of see where we are. And here we go, doing some bends. Where am I on this? Hold on. I want to be able to move it so you guys can see too. Oh, recheck. We didn't get too far. There we go. So this is basically just a nice little extra length that's going to come out of the CPU block, and then I'm going to be bending a 90 with it going across the GPU. Take probably about 20-30 seconds to get the tubing activated, and I'm just slightly rotating it. Starts to become pliable. And then we're going to take it down here into our mandrel and get it bent before it cools. Always make sure you turn your heat gun off. Safety first, everybody. I'm going to bend my 90-degree right into my mandrel just like this. Use that soapy water, take a rag, get it wet, and then now I can use this kind of almost like a quench. And this is just going to cool my tube. So I'm not going to sit here holding this, burning my fingers, or taking it out and dunking it in a bucket. I'm going to be able to keep it right into the mandrel so I get that nice 90 right off of that. And then my rag will help speed that process up so I'm not sitting here holding this forever. There we go. Nice little 90-degree bend. Okay. Now my 90-degree bend is going to go up here into my CPU, and then it's going to come over and we just got to bend it down going into our pump reservoir. Now, one thing I want to talk about with this is that with my 90-degree that I have here, you know, you can make some fun little things with this, but you get a nice 90 and you're going to have to do a second bend. That second bend is always going to be probably the hardest part when you're first starting out doing PETG tubing, because you don't know where that bend's going to be to bend it. And if you do it wrong, you're throwing it away. Or at least a lot of people, you run into a lot of those challenges as far as you know how you're going to do it. I mean, that's why PETG is so important to a lot of people that do some really clean lines. And I mean, I love seeing some nice clean lines, you know, with tubing when people are doing liquid cooling. And it shows with the effort that the builders put in to do those nice clean lines, because you technically don't have to. I mean, it'll still work ugly, but we always want to make it look nice. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Well, I would say not a lot of things. I'll take that back. But I would say that there are a couple things that you could do. And with one of those, of course, is going to man up and do the second bend and get that guy in there. And you get a nice little 90 going down, CPU and all that. Then we can trim it to fit and put it in. We got nice one-piece tubing going in with just 2C Pro fittings, no adapters. You save money on that stuff, you know, with the tubing, because the tubing's a lot cheaper than buying like 1,000 fittings. But you can go either way or do a balance of both. Now, one thing that you can do is that if you don't want to deal with the stress of doing a second bend off of the same tube, you can get something like this. This is like our TF2, TF1, different flow sensors that we have. And ideally with this, it's going to break up this tube run that I have. So instead of having to worry about, I'm going to bend this here and then bend that there, and this has got to be perfect, and my length and everything has got to be right, you can take a lot of that stress out, add a little bit of fun to it, and then you could throw something like this in the mix. And then now all I'm worrying about is bending just a 90. I can cut this to fit as far as how far in I want it to go or where I want the tubing to sit. And then as far as the other part, I'll just be trimming that up because I'm going to be throwing this guy in here. And then now for my pump reservoir, I could have my tubing coming up and then bend it over. I don't have to worry about where the 90 is going to be, just as long as it's long enough, right? And then once I have that, I'll have my one end, I'll have my little dude mocked up right here, my TF2. I'll have this guy set up, and then I'll know exactly where I'll put my other piece that's coming up from my reservoir coming over, and then I'll know right where I got to cut it. And then that way I'm basically getting a two bend situation, throwing in a nice flow sensor that's going to give me a warning and everything if my flow rate goes low, or being able to give you some other stuff like a digital readout for temperature and everything. But one of the great things about this is that it will help your tube runs better. And you can just kind of throw this in the mix here, and then now you're basically cutting the tube, but you don't have to worry about doing the two bends and then cut the tube and cut the section out. You can basically just bend one, fit that to where you want, bend the other one, cut it to fit, and you can do it that way as well. And that's a great way to start when you're first trying out on this, because you want to try to eliminate the option of having to do multiple bends on one tubing, because that's going to be like one of the more difficult things, trying to get stuff lined up. You want it to look good. You know, you put all your nice hard-earned money into this and you want to game on it and you want it to look good too. So you can do a couple different ways. So that was a couple of things I just wanted to talk about. Questions. You guys got questions? I am all ears on the questions. The TF2, Team Fortress 2, I know, right?
TT is the heavy.
TT dudes, he's hanging out. But then yeah, so I have my rag. Try not to spill it on my nice expensive RGB table.
Thanks.
You know, it comes in handy. Height adjustment and all that fun stuff. All right. So now you got to try to figure out how you're going to do your second bend, because you don't want to use that sensor, or you just, you know, you want to try to do something a little bit more, right? So you want to figure out like, where do I bend? Where do I do the bend at? Well, here's an easy way to kind of go over it. Let me see. Oh, because you know what? This isn't actually in there right now. So let's do it like this. So, example. Here is going to be my pump reservoir. This is going to be my PETG that's going to come up. I mean, granted, this is going to be bent this way because I'm going to be folding it like that. And then it's going to have a 90 that's going to come down to where I'm going to sit on the pump res. So with this, I'm going to have to figure out where I got to bend this at. So I get a nice clean straight line here, and then it's going to go straight down into here just the same. And you're going to be like, well, where do you do the bend at, or how do you figure out how to do the bend? Well, this is what I do. So I would take my tubing, I'd line it up with where my G1/4 is off the CPU, because that's where we're going to be at. The other thing too is I kept this long. And the reason why I kept it long is because when I put my pump reservoir into the case, this tube, as far as where it's going to bend down, is not going to go right straight on the top of the fitting. Okay? It's going to go right in front of it. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to give you that extra length there, so you don't have to worry about, you know, how far or where you're going to bend it. The only thing that's going to be important is the bend going down and keeping that nice and straight. And like I said, you have options to move this back and forth. So when I go to heat this and I'm going to bend this down, I'm going to look at it where I'd have the CPU locked in. So I have this kind of set up like this. I'm going to mock. Let's see if I can. How would I? Yeah. So it's going to be set up like this. Here's my 90 degree. Here's my CPU block. So my CPU block's right here. Okay. And then I have all this. And I'm going to come over. Now I'm going to look at my fitting. I'm going to look at the edge of my fitting. What I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to hold like my thumb, my finger, whatever you want to do. Hold it right here where it's going to be on the inside of where the fitting is going to go. So I'm going to bend this down into the fitting like this, okay? And as I bend that down, I want to mark on the left side of the fitting where it's coming down. And as I mark on my tube where I'm going to heat this section. So you're going to see like, this is my mark. That's going to be my heated area. And this is going to give me the best case to be able to get that lined right up where my fitting's going to be. And like I said, it's not going to be something where you have to worry about the length of this, because it's going to go down lower, below the fitting. And then it's also out of your way. So that way you can do your bend. It's going to come straight down. It's not going to be worried. You're not worrying about getting it put into the fitting just yet. You're just worried about making sure it's lined up. And that's what's important. So that way you're eliminating the other concerns or the other problems that you would have. So let's go for it. And like I said, my pump reservoir is not going to be mounted. I'm going to have it just kind of loose in here. I'm going to look at where I want it. So at least I have it kind of like laid out like, you know, hey, this is where I want it to go. Make sure that I don't have a clearance issues. You know, everything's going to line up, you know, as far as how it's going to go in. And then I'm going to take my tube and I'm going to basically just I'm just going to mock this up. I'm going to just hold it right here where it looks like I'm holding on the G1/4. And I'm just going to eyeball it. Look at it several times. It's fine. But you want to make sure everything's looking straight as far as where you're going to go. Now this is going to be my mark. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. One way that I like to do it, because I'm just crazy and I like to you know, do it harder than I guess it should be, but I just hold it right here and then I know that this is going to be the area going this way. I'm going to heat this part from here. Heat this over. It's going to bend down. Now you can take a piece of tape. You can put a piece of tape on here if you'd like. A piece of tape will help you out. Kind of get that wrapped around. That's going to wrap around and that's going to be your point. You can let go, right? Tape will be fine. It'll get hot. It's not going to catch fire. I mean, you get that. Get this little inexpensive like striping tape you can get on like Amazon and stuff. Stuff like this is perfect. Gives you like a nice little, and then it's just a little indicator. That's all it is. But I'm just keeping focused that I have my finger right where I want it to be. And since I've sat here talking to you guys, I'm going to double check it. Yeah, I hope you guys are chilling out on a Thursday. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it, you guys. Hope you guys are having a great day. Yeah, I'm good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend with confidence. If I screw up, it's fine. You know what I mean? That's part of the job. But how you get there and how you go about it, it's all up to you. Don't burn yourself. Now I'm going to be rotating this, and I'm going to be very careful that I don't twist my tubing because I have extra weight now on the 90-degree bend side. And I'm just going to focus here while I do this bend for you guys as my heat gun's like moving, and that's not helping me. Come on, heat gun. Oh, it's totally sliding on me. It slid like a good inch. I had to move with it. So I'm just getting the tubing activated. And I'm being real careful. I'm not twisting this hand because I'm going to actually twist the tube because of the extra weight. Put this down here into my mandrel. So I got it down here into my mandrel now. Take my damp rag. Give a nice little chill. Sometimes you might want to kind of just make sure, you know, you want to make sure a lot of this stuff is going to be nice and straight. The one thing that's going to be real important with how you do these bends, and you know, this is kind of fun because I don't do this too often where okay, so then we have our double 90. It happens. But yeah, make sure, hey, be careful this heat gun, okay? Put that thing out of the way.
I got a question for you over on Discord.
Oh yeah, hey, what's up?
Concerning flow rates.
Okay.
If you have a 360 millimeter rad with a CPU and GPU block,
Okay.
flow rate.
So, I mean, I'll speak for Thermaltake as far as how we do our pump settings and everything. So our D5 pumps have a 5-speed adjustment on them. You do not have to go to 5. You're actually not going to be going to 5 very often. You don't need to be. For something like, say for example, I had a single rad and I'm doing CPU and GPU, I wouldn't go higher than 3. I'd probably say 3 is a good spot. If you're doing a double rad, you probably want to do like 4. And ideally for that is because you do not want that flow to be going too fast where it's not doing its job. Running it at like full max speed is not better. And you just got to find that little bit of balance there based on a lot of just the resistance of, you know, the components, you know, as far as how much stuff you got in there. You got CPU cooling, GPU cooling, say you're doing VRM, say you're doing RAM. You know, you got a lot of other things in there that are going to give you, you know, those restrictions and stuff, right? And ideally with that, you want to be able to, you know, you want to be able to get it, because the coolant, if it's going too fast through the radiator, it doesn't have enough time to cool. I guess that's kind of like the thing. So you don't really want to run it max. The other thing too is you deal with extra bubbles, extra pressure and stuff like that when you don't need it. And you'll see from the temperatures and everything what I'm talking about. All right, so we've got our bend. Let's take a peek. Okay. So then now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the insert out. And I'm just using that drywall screw like I was telling you. I mean, you can always leave a piece of it hanging out if you want, but either way. Sometimes when you got double bends, you got to give it a kind of little bit of an extra pull. And you can get that thing out of there. So that just kind of pulls the insert out. I'd ideally try to do it faster than what I did, but that was just because, you know, hey, we're live here at Thermaltake Live, baby. We're showing you guys stuff. But either way, try to get it out as quick as you can once everything's cool. You know, you don't want to start tugging on this when it's still warm, because then it could bend, you know, that nice 90 you just made, right? I'll go ahead and I'll just put that, you know, just keep my stuff together. All right, let's see how we did. Let's see how we did. I'm doing this for you guys. All right. Well, here, let's do it this way. Let's just pop our C Pro on the end here, just for fun. This will help me a lot too, because I won't have to hold both sides. All right. So then see, now I have a 90-degree bend here off of the CPU, and you can see, you know, I got that play right there, right? And you got this whole situation with trying to keep it level. You want a nice straight shot like that, right? And then the other thing with this too is that the tube and where my pump reservoir are going to be, you know, I'm just trying to keep this. So if I move my pump reservoir, get that all situated right, get this situated. And then once I have my spot where I know that this is going to be nice and level, I'll make my mark here so that I know what my length is going to be to cut it. And the reason why I want to cut this piece first is because it's hanging in front of the fitting. And it makes it so simple for you, because you're not worrying about having to set it on top of the fitting or have it be too long, but it's the fitting's in the way. And you're like, oh, I got to take the fitting out and it's going to go right where that same spot's going to be. Don't do that to yourself. Have this part a little bit longer so it's sticking out a little bit further, because all you're going to do is trim this back to push it back in there. And I'm going to set something up like this, and I'm just going to get that bitch in 90 that's just nice and clean like this. And now I did a double bend and I didn't have to do too much to get it, right? And like I said, if you want to put a cool little temp sensor in the middle and not have to deal with the double 90, do that too. Got options. All right. So in a lot of this is I'm just kind of looking at where my pump's going to be, see how everything's kind of set up in here. And I apologize, some of this stuff I try my best to show you. I also want to make sure, you know, I mean, like, as funny as it is, I mean, when you look at it, I got right there on just that nice little outer edge of the graphics card. And I just gave myself like just a nice little clean little gap. You know, it's not buttoned up against it. You know, I thought about a lot of that as far as where my pump placement was going to be. But you know what I mean? You just get that nice little. And then see, I can just use that C Pro fitting to just kind of hold that in there so I can mess with this. You know what I mean? Now I could do this one of two ways. I just take a little marker and just mark it off where I'm going to cut it. And then I have to worry about that later. I can deal with that later, or put a little piece of tape on there. You know, you can do what you want to do. Another thing too, because I know, I'm sorry I'm drawing this out, but I want to show you guys this stuff. I'm so excited to show you guys this stuff.
How excited?
Super excited. But another thing too with this is that if you need more of a visual on stuff like this, take another piece, like a short little piece like this. You know, take your C Pro fitting. Put this guy on the end, like that. Get my silly tube out of the way. But then I can take a little mock-up piece, and then right here I have my little mock-up piece for the fitting. And then what this is gonna do is this is gonna give me a nice visual where my bend's gonna go. You know what I mean? This is gonna show me right where my bend's gonna be. Because this is basically my nice little, vertical straight shot. And then this is gonna help me knowing where I'm gonna bend. Because I'm gonna bend on this side of the tube to get it to go straight in the middle, because it's just a nice little offset right there. So you can use a little scrap piece, or you got some extra piece, you want to cut a piece or whatnot, because that other piece was too big, right? Because it's gonna hit the case wall like it's, kind of stuck up here in some abstract art kind of scenario, right? And then this way, when you bring it down, this will kind of give you a nice little guideline too. So use the stuff that you got. But I think we're good. So we'll just drop this back in here. And we will mock up where we're going to cut our tube. You want to make sure the tube's nice and level too. If you can't eyeball stuff like that, or say you want to be real picky about it, these cool little levels. Look at this guy. Look at this cool little level. And it's got the little notches for like a pipe. And then you can just set that right here on the top. And then now you got this cool little level. And I can be like, bro. It's level.
How level?
Super level.
Bro.
But yeah, you know what I mean? Like a little simple thing like that's going to give you peace of mind that you know that it's nice and straight, or just eyeball it. You know what I mean? Because you can always cut a little bit more off the tube to drop it down to get the perfect height. You just can't add more. I mean, it's like woodworking in a way. Just think about it. Hope this helps. All right, let's get our mock up. Get my little Sherpie. I'm on a new level. Yeah, I went there.
I got a follow-up question for you.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Now, for my first cut that I'm going to do, you can either just go for it and do it right, or cut it a little bit long. So you just got a little piece. So it's like, you could get it in the fitting, even though it's not going to be level. But you can also do it that way too. Just, What was the question?
So, question is, follow up from the last question. Question is, on a bend, long run, 876 millimeters, is that going to affect the pump's ability to move the water?
So when you got a long piece of tube, you're worried about what your flow rate's going to be like. Consider it this way. A D5 pump, at least as far as how we spec it out here at Thermaltake, can push 15 feet up. So you have 15 feet of tubing that it can push fluid through at a maximum. You're not even going to be half that. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. A lot of that, if you put extra little bends and swirls and all that stuff, your inner diameter does not change. Your inner diameter is the same because of your insert. And your restriction is not going to be something you're going to be worried about with the tubing. It's going to be with the blocks. It's always with the blocks and or with the radiator. How many radiators, how big of a radiator you got. And like I said, adjusting pump levels and everything. I mean, we have a 5-speed D5 Vario pump that we use like on a lot of our high-end stuff. Distro plates, PR22, a lot of our newer stuff has a 5-speed adjustment on it. Most of the time, you're really not going to want to go above 3. I mean, you can if you want to, but a lot of it's going to come down to what that restriction is going to be with how many components you got, and you got to kind of play around with it. But I would definitely not say leave it on 5 to start. Probably go like 2 or 3 on it for like a CPU. and then just kind of see what happens, you know? I'm at like 2.5 on my stream system, for example. And I got CPU, GPU cooling, I got tubes, I got dual 180 bends in it, 360, 64 mil thick rad. Just give you some like ideas. I don't have a rushing waterfall coming down because I don't need to. Like, temps are fine. Airflow would be more of a concern as far as RPM speed, static pressure, CFM on your fans, cooling your radiator, and how that airflow can go through. What restrictions do you have with the way the radiator's mounted? Like with this guy, it's got a nice pass through on the back. So the radiator just goes right out the back of the case. So that helps. You know, you're not going into a wall, right? Yeah. All right, so we got our tube mocked up. Yeah, I was just double checking that. Make sure that's looking good. Oh, I don't know why I left this, sorry. All right. Now, like I said, I like to use the cutter for doing the, you know, the getting close type of cuts, and then a nice miter box. Get everything else real clean. Just get everything lined up and just put some nice pressure. There we go. Got a nice little cut piece. Got a little piece like this. A lot of these little guys, you can save them. Save these little guys. Sometimes they can come in handy for doing little, you know, fitment areas to kind of see where, you know, length is. Like I was saying, like we got a piece like this. These little guys can come in handy for doing the next tube. Of course, I made a huge mess on the table. Okay, so let's see where we're at. Okay, so now as I'm looking at this, I'm basically just looking at how much I got to cut off on this 90 going in. So I'm gonna just go ahead and start mocking that up. If you guys got questions on any of this, let me know. I'm gonna try not to like go over like every little single detail, but I definitely hope that doing something like this with a dual 90-degree bend to get you started on your first hard tube loop, I really hope that these kind of tips will help you guys out, because that is what makes me feel good. Is, you know, if I can show you guys one little thing or whatever to help you out, just as much as I like to see what other people are doing and just try to learn every day. Make sure you get all the little particles out. You should just kind of like shake this guy off, or the area where you cut. You know, just kind of make sure you don't got any little burrs or anything like that on there. A good little thing that I'll do is I'll just take like a 400 grit, like wet dry sandpaper, and I'll just kind of sand the end of this. I don't have to worry about it too much on the C-Pro fittings because I'm not pushing through O-rings like you would see from, you know, other fittings that are out in the market. So I don't really have to worry too much about it, but I just like to do it as a common practice, because before C-Pros, that was what I was doing. And then that kind of saves that sharp edge from cutting into O-rings as you're applying it into the fitting. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and mock up and see. We're gonna have to see how far we're gonna have to cut. We have debris.
My eyes.
I'm just kind of just doing my little test fit stuff. I gotta go a little bit more. Now, like I was saying too, like with the cutters, it's good for just getting close. But if you want to cut something more precise, nice miter saw works great. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. Make a couple extra cuts. You know what I mean? Just little by little till you get it right. Because like, for example, the way I have it mocked up right now, I'm probably about a tube width in front of the fitting. So I got to cut basically about the width of moving the tube from right in front of the fitting to right over the top of it. Yeah, I can cut little, look at this. Look at these little pieces. I could go even thinner. I could cut this in half. Something like that. You can get real precise with it. Steve, we're gonna need a vacuum service in here later. Thanks.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Steve's not here right now.
Oh, dang it.
He's not here right now.
All right, so I'm just kind of just going a little bit more. Okay. Shake out my little pieces that I have here because I don't want them falling into the block, or like say if it was on this part and it's going to fall down into my 90 degree, you know, off my pump res, I don't want that. So just make sure you get the little pieces out of here. A little shake like that works good. Blow through the tube, kind of push it out, you know, blow the opposite end of where you cut. It helps. What does Thermal Steve do most of the time? He's awesome. He becomes awesome and bees awesome all the time. That's what he does.
That's news to me.
Hey man, trying to help you out here. Yeah, I'm looking at how my pump's going, seeing where everything's gonna be set up. Here, let me give you a little. I'm getting there. I'm getting right there. But yeah, I'm just cutting a little and little by little. Because what I want to look at is not just necessarily like see, for example, like you see how this is, you don't want it like that. Or when you look at it this way, you know what I mean? It's going to be like, even though when you look at it, it looks like straight this way, right? But then when you look at it sideways, you don't want it like that and everything like that, where you cut this piece too short or it's too long and it's hanging out like that. You know what I mean? Just take your time with it. It's actually looking pretty good. Gotta have a nice clean surface. So I'm just making sure I don't have any little, like, you know, edges on here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put my 2 C-Pros in. Then we'll go ahead and we'll lock it in and, you know, see how it looks. Maybe we gotta trim a little bit more on it. Maybe we don't. But we're close enough now that we can actually get the fittings in and get them attached to the components with the tube that we just bent. Here we go. There are two. And then, like I said, it really only kind of depends on where you want to place your pump. You want your pump inward, outward. It's all going to determine that tube. I could cut a little bit more off the CPU, bring the pump in a little bit more, right? I've already basically done my bend down, so my pump's pretty much where it's going to be this way, right? But I still have this way to go too. So it's just stuff you can think about, what you want to, you know, what you want to do. And the other thing that's nice about this is now you got a nice piece of tube that goes all the way across the top. There's no little, you know, temperature flow sensor thing in there where that could become a possible scenario of a leak that could leak right over the top of your graphics card. And for me personally, man, I just gotta love the bends. You know, you get a nice little dual 90 like that. This textbook right here. Clean little 90, look at that. You get it all the way across, all of the fun little angles, you know, and you're proud of it. It is magic. Now let's do something a little bit more fun. A little bit easier, right? Nothing too, this is so complex. This right here was definitely the hardest tube to bend in this build. And I always like to get it just out of the way. You know, that's what I wanted to do. That was a tough one to go by. I have the most tubing possible at this moment to do the hardest bend, because then I won't feel stressed about having one piece left and having to do the most difficult bend one time. Don't let these things happen. All right, so we're gonna do a nice little bend from the top of the radiator going down into the CPU. How are you guys? You guys having a good Thursday? We got, how many we got? Oh man, we got a good amount of you. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining. I hope you guys are having fun with this, learning this. I'm having fun doing it. Nah, it's too long. Now here's something fun. You guys kind of see this? So see how I just basically took the insert and I just fit it right in there? These 16 mil inserts fit right into a G1/4 threaded port with no fitting or anything like that. It's just jammed right into the fitting. So now I got this little insert right here, and this is gonna be like my tube length. But say I wanna do a little bit of flair to it. I wanna add like a cool little like curve. Take this and I can bend this up. Maybe we kind of pinch this off. Do like, oh, how can I show you this? Like something like that. Or for example, with the way the radiator is gonna go, and because I have the fitting right here, I'm gonna put let's put a 90 on this port. So we got a straight shot going over, and then we're just gonna do like a cool little, nice little bend going right. Just nice little soft, like little, a cool wave, just right into the CPU block. I keep grabbing 9045s. Hold on. Little 90-degree fitting. We'll go ahead and we'll just put her in around here. So that's going to give me a nice 90 off the top going that way, right down into the CPU. Got my Boxo C Pros.
Yeah, good question over on Twitch.
Ooh, a good question over on Twitch. What's the question? I'm sorry I didn't see.
So Adrian asks, "Hey Mikey, you don't have to answer this. How much time do you get before a show to bend to Thermaltake
For Thermaltake what?
for booth machine?"
Oh, for booth machines. Oh man. So the question was asking how much time do I get to do the bends for like the systems for like a show? Like for example, the last show we had was PAX East out in Boston. I think And we did have a good amount of systems. Some of them were pre-built, but we did do some custom ones for that show specifically, which I know a lot of you guys over there saw. But we literally had like no time. I mean, most of this stuff, like something like this, I can bust out in maybe like an hour. You know, maybe less, depending on what I want to do or what components that I have to get up. But yeah, don't really get too much time. I don't get days. I definitely don't get days. We try to do multiple systems. I have a great staff here that has been bending tube with me for multiple years. We've learned from each other and we've grown together on it. And it's just a big passion of mine to do this. And honestly, lately I haven't done it a lot. I mean, you know, I've been doing the show. And I mean, bending's just it's almost kind of like, you know, I just want to just go out on the street and just bend tube for people out on the street, you know what I mean? And just kind of show them what I could do. But instead, I got Thermaltake live and I got all you guys here. We're going to be doing lots of this stuff. I mean, tons of this stuff. This is like the first one that we're doing. So make sure you guys click that. Give me a follow on Twitch. I'd really appreciate it. Like and subscribe on YouTube for more. We're going to be doing this stuff. You missed the live stream, it's all good. We'll have the VOD on YouTube there for you to watch later. Or maybe in a couple of weeks when you get to the point where you want to do a system build. Regardless of who's whatever. This is just, you know, good. I hope it's good tips for you guys. I've been doing this for a good bit. I'll definitely admit that. So I'm just getting my my Gina quarter base plates in here, doing it off the CPU block. And off the rad, because I've done bending live at shows too, and that's a lot of fun. People can actually watch me bend it right there in front of them, and I really like, you know, hearing all the questions that everybody has. You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, how'd you do this?" or "How'd you do that?" Or, you know, I've even had somebody ask me to make a pretzel. I mean, he called me out and he's like, "Hey, can you bend a pretzel?" And I looked at my other coworker and I said, "Hold my coolant." That's what I said. And dude, I bent him a pretzel. I was just like, took the tube and I'm just like, bram, bram, just like you would see it, like, you know, the mall and everything like that with the Wendell's pretzels or whatever. The only hard part I had was getting the insert back out, but figured that out. I'm like, here, bro. He's like, I can keep this. I'm like, yeah, dude, you wanted a pretzel. Here you go. That was fun. That was BlizzCon. We did bending live at BlizzCon. That was like 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. Okay, so I got my 2 Gina quarters in. I'm going to use my insert here to just kind of mock up. Find out how long my tube's got to be. I'm just trying to look at like a cool little design that I want to do. Let's try it. Here's that other piece that we cut off the first piece, right? Good to go. It's that cool little lock and load.
That was terrifying.
Do you see how it's all like I ejected it over my shoulder. So see, I got like, here's my other little piece, right? It's gonna go into my Gina quarter there, bend it down into that CPU. Now for this one, we're definitely not going mandrel. This guy right here is gonna be all by hand. You can have some fun with it. Make something unique, you know? We're all lucky here to have Thermal Steve. Yeah. Well, I would say there is some merit to it, I guess, because you don't want those little pieces on the table of, you know, you're heating and bending. Like say I cut on this and then I'm going to lay this piece down. I'm going to heat like probably about like this much, but I don't want to heat the very end of it because that's going to go in the fitting. But I'm going to heat this little area so I can do that cool little bend down. But before I even get started with the heating process, I'm going to put my fittings on both ends because the magic, the wizardry of the C Pro is, I believe, the only fitting in the market that you can do this. I don't think there's any other fitting in the market that can do this. So then I can set this here like on the table. And then now I can heat that little area that I want. Pop one side in, do my cool little bend, pop that side in. Then I got maybe like about 7 to 10 seconds to do my cool little angle bend where I can go back and reheat it and activate it because now I got A and B connected. Watch. Oh, but you have to decide which end you want to do. And it's also good to kind of see where you want to start the bend. So then I got like something like this right here. Should have pulled a piece of this off beforehand, but it's all good. Then see, I put a little piece of tape right there, and that'll be my little mark as far as where I'm going to go. Where I'm going to start my heat going the other way. Oh, leet. Leet. I know. Numbers. Numbers. Okay, so maybe I'm gonna redo this. But what I wanted to say is that so with like my fittings, I'm gonna have this like fun little problem where these things are gonna want to slide, and I'm just gonna be, come on, you know what I mean? Put a little piece of tape on the end. I don't have to worry about it. And I mean, ideally that's just there, like especially if you're doing like a, you know, you're going up into the rad. You don't want to deal with that. Put it up here, put a little piece of tape right here on the bottom just to, you know, just keep it up here. Save some frustration for sure. I usually kind of just break out a couple of these little dudes. All right. Okay, so here's my little indication where I'm going to heat. And then for this, I'm going to set this actually down on the board, and I'm going to heat it this way. So I'm actually putting the heat down onto the tubing, and I'm just going to rotate it around because I'm heating a larger area, basically a larger width than the opening of the heat gun. And then, yeah, just having the C Pros just right on the end there saves me that extra time for the, you know, the pliability of being able to bend this around and do what I want to do with it. And then I'm just going to start, I'm looking at the tubing. I can start to see that it's heating up. It's going to start sagging here on a minute, where I'm going to start seeing that middle part, or that part that I want to bend. Just kind of, you know, it's getting there. Takes a little bit longer. See, I should have put a piece of tape on that side. Just enough so that way we can just connect it one to the other. Because you don't want to go too much, because then you'll start seeing bubbles and the tube will start getting warped if you do too much heat too fast. Set that down there so I don't start a fire. Oh, I'm losing my time. I'm losing my time. Come on, baby. Okay. I gotta kiss it a little bit more. But like I said, with PETG tubing, I can just reactivate this. Not really worried about it. Mostly because my bending board got in the way. And all I'm doing is I'm just messing with it while I still have it to be able to move. It's still pliable. And then instead of having to stress about doing like a 90, instead of having to stress about doing like a double 90 off of it, I could do something like this where I got this cool little like comes straight out, and then it just kind of teardrops down and in. You guys can see that a little bit.
Teardrop.
You know, it's just kind of like a little, just kind of dropped it down. Now I could heat more of the tube, and I mean I still could. I could heat more of the tube, reactivate this. Actually, let me just show you. Now, I wouldn't recommend a lot of this unless you've done this for a long time, but I'm just kissing this tube with some heat to just reactivate it really fast. And I'm not really blowing the air on the direct components. It's not the heat's not getting on there enough. So don't trip. You'll be fine. And then this is allowing me to just have a little bit of pliability with it. Kind of wanted that guy to be a little bit more parallel with the ram on the top. And I mean, for what it is, that's pretty good. You could do it a couple of different ways, you know, but if you want to just do a nice freehand bend where you got that 90 coming off and then it just kind of loops down around, or maybe you do a bigger teardrop to it, or you give it a little bump up and down and you put a 90-degree fitting going in the top. You could do a couple of different things with it. Either way, you're getting A to B. Now we'll go ahead and we'll take the tube back out. And like I said, dude, the insert saved me so much hassle with figuring out what my distance was going to be on this. So I don't have to even worry about cutting anything. I'm done. Okay. Got my tube right here. It's nice and warm, like a nice warm cookie. You get this cool little, you know, it's just got like a little cookie doo. It's not like a 180, but it's just some little freehand stuff. Just to add a little accent to your build. We'll take our screw and we'll just go ahead and pull this bad boy out. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I just like to bend tubes. I mean, if I had more time, you know, we could do a lot of crazy stuff. Sometimes that, you know, these fittings will get a little tight, and it'll just pull the whole G1/4 base plate out, and you just got to unscrew it. And it's a little bit tighter when that stuff happens, but it's usually not too bad. Well, I can tell you the one thing is that when you look at something like coolant versus water, coolant's going to have bubbles. Water's not. So like if you had two clear fill bottles next to each other, you know, that's how I usually kind of tell besides the smell. You know, you could smell that it's coolant and everything. But either way, those bubbles, even if you use distilled water, it just takes longer for it to dissipate. The coolant does help with that to prevent that and prevent foaming and bubbles and, you know, all those kind of things. But a lot of that is just, you know, getting the air out of the system, you know, rocking your system left and right and all that. It takes time. You know, people freak out like in the first 5 minutes why there's so many bubbles. Dude, give it a half hour and then call me. Or you have an air gap somewhere where it's sucking air in versus leaking water out. And a lot of that could just be like a loose fitting and stuff like that. Go ahead and get this guy put back in here. And I mean, you guys can see, I don't know if you guys can see too well, but like right here, I mean, you get a 0 point off of this. I can see where my tube is going right into my fitting, right there. Well, it's hard on this little. Now, we're not going to lock these in like they're good and done. Basically, what we're doing is we're just getting these on here just to make sure everything's gonna, you know, give you that nice look that you're going for. And you keep your nice lines crisp and everything. Because we're gonna pull all this stuff out when we're done. We're gonna pull all this out. We're gonna do the dishes. Go ahead and wash all this stuff out with tap water. Then once it's all washed out with tap water, then we'll go and we'll put some distilled water through the tube. So we get all that distilled water and all those little minerals from the distilled water out. But at least that way the sink helped us blow out like all these little pieces and everything you got from the cuttings and stuff. Okay, and then now we're gonna do our last tube, which is gonna come off the pump reservoir right here. And we gotta look at our G1/4 and decide how we wanna go and like what we wanna do. We can do a very simple, just teardrop down into the reservoir. You could come out and do like a corkscrew spiral thing. Like I was saying, if you go with a shorter stack, like a PR15 versus 22, you have more space right there if you want to do like a cool little spiral that drops down in there. I mean, you got options, right? But you can just keep something simple just the same. What I have to do though is I have to switch the down stem right here. I got to switch this guy to the other side because the way it's gonna be laid out on the top there, I want my return on the right, not the left. And these are just interchangeable. At least I thought they were interchangeable.
Whoop.
No, I'm kidding. I just got to remember, was this the side? I hope so. Well, I'll just put that back in here. And then yeah, and just ideally, I'm just gonna come straight out, drop it down into the res. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today on a Thursday. I really hope you guys are enjoying this as we build in our S300. I'm gonna put another little insert duder in here, see what my length is gonna be. You know, just giving me just like an idea, right? Like how long my tube's gotta be. Like, well, you can't really, you don't wanna measure, come on. Get something like this. Just do a nice little teardrop just going right down into there. This is a little bit long. So you can do one of two things. I mean, if you get extra inserts, you cut the insert a little bit shorter, get that perfect fitment for it. Because ideally, we want to do the same thing we just did. Put the fittings on both ends, heat this guy up, bend it, click it in, done. And that's why this little guy helps so much. Oh, I don't have a shorter piece. There went Steve's finger. Ah! Oh. Thirsty Thursday. Get some more C-Pros. You're so funny. Midnight. Thank you, bro. You made my day. And you didn't use the word beefy. Not sponsored by Taco Bell. The air in the bubbles isn't that big a deal, though. You know, don't trip on it. You'll be fine. Sometimes it can take a good bit to go away, but the thing that's important is how long does it take for it to go away? Because if it's still doing bubbles and you're day 2 in, then you probably have an air leak sucking air into the system, or your coolant level is below your downstem and you're not being able to create your vacuum. But most likely, fitting or something, O-ring or something, you know, it's getting air leak, sucking air in that's getting into the loop versus it leaking. And that can happen. You can check your fittings, make sure they're nice and tight. Use our Thermaltake C-Pro fittings because we offer 4 O-rings. And you can order now.
Product placement.
Oh, man. Enjoy the wonderful world of the new C-Pro fittings here by Thermaltake. They won't just keep you cool, but they will keep you cool.
I could be cool and also cool.
You're cool just because you have the C-Pros. Be a pro with the C-Pro. Come on, what do you guys have to think? Come on, what's a good C-Pro slogan?
M&M's.
Eh. Whoops.
My other finger.
Watch your fingers. We had all this extra tubing. Look at all that. Aha! This stuff's so much fun to play with. Wait. Is this a good length? Did I do this right? I hope I did this right. Maybe I didn't. It's all right. Whenever you guys dealing with this, please be careful, okay? Please be careful. I like that. Protect your PC. That's funny. Or the C Pro to be a C Pro. I love it. All right. And yeah, with all this wonderful explaining, this is our last tube, guys, girls, everybody. You know, if you had a cool barbecue apron like me, you would bend better too. Order yours today. I actually would love to get something like this. You know, get like a little, you know, bending station, bending stuff. I mean, they got barbecue stuff. Why don't they have bending stuff, right? Come on. Where's my bending emporium?
That would make an awesome kit, by the way.
Get a little shopping cart, you know, and you got your little bending emporium. All right, all right. Make some space. Sleeve. O-ring. Inner sleeve. 1, 2, 3. I'm so impatient, I just jammed the whole thing on there. These little stop plugs, by the way, are great because if you ever have to do anything down the road, this is G and a quarter, it fits in anything, keeps the dust out and all that stuff. You have to clean it out or you're switching out stuff. I like that we throw these in here now. We used to use those little push-in guys. You had to pull and pop out. And then now these little thread dudes go in here. I love these little guys. I have a ton of them. Except for that one that fell off the table. That one, he's lost.
It's mine now.
Steve stole it already.
Ah!
Congratulations, Steve. This is what you win today.
Woo!
All right, so for this one, we're just gonna do a straight bend down and in. So we're just gonna kind of heat the middle a little bit, maybe a little 60-40. Mostly because what we want is we want a straight edge and it goes down into a straight piece. We just want a nice little teardrop in there, so we don't want to heat too much of it. Just enough, just enough. If you guys like what you're seeing here on the channel, make sure that you guys click that follow button. We have a following goal. Try to get to 2,000 followers here. Still got a good amount of time. We've done an amazing job with it. But yeah, if you guys haven't clicked that follow button, please help us out. Give us that follow. We really appreciate it. We're almost there. Getting a little bit of sag going on. Just enough. Don't want too much of a bend. We're not bending a big piece. We're just bending a little piece. That works better over there. Careful so you don't twist it when you're tightening and then smiling in the camera like I do.
The more you know.
The more you know. See? Hey, you got a nice little clean little teardrop bend. And it's handcrafted by you. One off. Custom. DIY LCS build. 3 tubes. 1, 2, 3, baby. We didn't even have any like mess ups. And I mean, it all really kind of depends on what you want to do and how far you want to go with it. Just waiting for this guy to cool. And then now that we have both of our tubes done, as far as this tube and this tube goes, we have these 2 tubes done. Now we can basically plant our pump reservoir. Now we can see where we're going to, you know, if we're going to line it up through the perforated bottom and just put them through there for easy, whatever we're going to do, or just take a Sharpie and just put it down in the hole, drill a couple of holes, mount it wherever you're going to mount it. It'll be fine. You can even just leave it in there, to be honest, but you'll get vibrations and everything. So it is good to mount it, just to mention, in case somebody was wondering. Yeah, I think we're pretty cool. Get our cool rag. So cool.
Oh, cool.
All right, we'll take this guy off. Okay. Got a cool little, look at that. Got a nice little 90 right there. Smooth little teardrop, just right back down into return. We'll go ahead and we'll pull all this stuff off. I'll use my Sharpie. Jam it in on one side. Pop it out real easy. Good to go. I didn't even have to cut it but once, right? Simple. Put my stuff back on here. Now the trick is remembering which end was where. I screw up all the time. The other thing that's good is put a piece of tape. Like if you're gonna still do some cuts, put a piece of tape on here and say, this piece of tape goes next to the radiator. And then this can help you out greatly from cutting the wrong end and then just face palming yourself. Happened, I've done it. And see, now you got your pump and you can kind of see how you can kind of play with it a little bit and just kind of get it, you know, in and out, front and back. Just kind of get that guy lined up. You got some nice clean lines. See? And there you go. Now I have basically set up my DIY LCS. Custom hard tubing. Handcrafted. One off, done by you. And this was some tips and tricks along the way. Show you guys like what to do and everything. I mean, I still have a fun bunch of cable stuff to do in the back, but come on, that's not that bad. You jam it all in there, tie it all up, close the back, and you're done. You know? The tube work and everything, though, is really what changes a lot of the game for what your build's gonna look like. And this is just one example. Now I'm gonna try to figure out how I can do more of this kind of stuff for you guys here live. Cause like for something like this, now that I have my tube work done, I'm gonna take all my tubes off. I'm gonna clean them all out. I'm gonna run distilled water through them to just get any of those, so I get all the little cut pieces and everything that I had from, you know, cutting the tubing and everything out. So because I don't want that going into my pump or getting stuck in a radiator. I mean, it's gonna be like a couple pieces because, oh man, if you had a ton of it in there, then you got some other problems. But you know, I would have that all set up, and then once I would have this done, then I would go ahead and either one, just put distilled water in there and do a leak test, jumper the power supply, and just have power going just to the pump, run your coolant through and everything, make sure everything's all good to go. And then, like after that, what I would do is then, you know, you'd put your 24 pin, plug it directly into the motherboard. You could leave the distilled water in there if you want. You could run that for a few days. It's not gonna matter. You just can't run it for a long period of time. And then drain the system out and then go forward with putting coolant in it. And like I was saying in the beginning of this particular tube that I have just coming down here, if I want to make sure and be very you know, direct, that you want to get as much of that distilled water out of there, so you just have the coolant. First thing to remember is most coolants are majority distilled water. But the other thing too is that now that I have this tube, I can take this bottom part off coming from the pump res, take the top cap off, and then if I wanted to, I can drain the system, right? I could drain the system. Once the system is drained, then I could put in a soft piece of tubing, and then I could pour coolant into the system. And then basically, say I used probably about a third of a bottle, and then just have it do one little push and just flah, and then it would push all the rest of that distilled water out. Or if you want to go ham and use more, you could totally do that too. And it's going to clean off it's going to, get all the rest of the distilled water out and then get that fresh coolant in there. And then once you have all that set up, you can put your tube back in and you're good to go. Same thing as far as if you want to do this and you put a quick connect on the bottom, do a little drain, get your little soft tube action, hook that bad boy up here, and then you can drain it out that way by using a 90-45 fitting, and then just use a quick connect off that with a 90 like I was showing. And that would help you out too, and that would give you your maintenance options. So that way you can at least get most of it drained out of the system, right? And then from there, it would the idea or the goal is to get it drained enough so you can remove the tubes, and then just put piece of paper towel, just kind of plug the hole, on the CPU block and everything, because you don't want any residual dripping out of there and all that fun stuff. And that way you could take the tubes out, you clean the tubes, take your reservoir out specifically, take it all apart, clean the whole 9 yards, or if CPU, GPU blocks, take those whole things apart and clean them. You got a lot of options there with that, and it's stuff you don't think about, before you're going to go through with all your tube work, all the money you're going to spend on putting a system like this together, and then just get it all set up, And then it's always important to have TT Dude down here hanging out with us. He made sure that every bend was perfect, and he's amazing.
He's watching.
He's watching me to make sure. See, look. See?
Grudging you.
No, I'm kidding. TT Dude's awesome. He encourages me to bend the tube, but I will never bend the knee. Rip. Yeah, I have plenty of room for my clearance for my cables. Basically get a lot of this stuff all set up. I take my tubes off now and I go rinse them out. Go ahead and throw those back on. Of course, before I do everything else, I would probably spend about a good hour, maybe half hour, depending on all this fun cable management back here, and get all that stuff all set up. Because honestly, I wasn't going to do that on the stream. If you guys want like an episode on cable management, I will do it. But it takes a little bit and it's a little slow, you know what I mean, for all this kind of stuff. But ideally, running all this stuff down this side, run it down the other side. I have my pocket and my CPU or my power supply cover to fill up a lot of the gaps to get the extra cables in there. And then I can just run some nice zip ties just down here and just kind of crimp this over like this. Clean this up on one end, clean it up on the other end, and then I have my 24-pin cable that will come down here. I could even take those cables and bunch it up with the 24-pin, and I could secure it up against the back of the wall, so my back panel will go on easier. There's nice little push-out tabs, so I can put zip ties right here, all the way down, right in the critical area that you would need, so that you can kind of screw those things down, or secure those things down, or just get those little peel and stick squares and you could put it just about anywhere you'd want to do it. Moisture is important, but you don't want condensation. You will always want to stay at ambient temperatures. Wait, no bold on stream chat? Oh, we don't have that feature yet? I blame Steve.
It was my fault, I did it.
You guys can all blame Steve for that. But yeah, there we go. That'd be what we'd set up. This is how it would go about. We'd run our coolant through, jumpered power supply, let that run for a little bit. Everything's all good. Or even better yet, I'm just going to put the coolant in there because I know I did it right. And I know because I got my C-Pro fittings, they gave me the confidence to know that tube is right up against the wall. And I'm not even worried about it. I don't even really leak test much anymore, mostly because of the way the C Pros are. I mean, I'm dead serious. But, you know, you can always do whatever is more comfortable for you. And this is how you would go about doing a custom loop in our S300. And have options going forward to water block our 3070. Because now all I would look at is I got my tube going into my CPU. Probably one of my favorite tubes because it's got my double bend on there. But now instead of going straight into the CPU, I'll take that tube out and I'll just come up and go over into the graphics card. And that's even easier. It's a single bend. And then I just have my other side coming off my GPU, and then I just ring that up into the CPU. I can do like a cool little turbo in there, you know, from A to B, just you hook some up like that, and then just add a little bit more style to it. While you're at it, maybe you want to change another tube because you just want to change it, right? And yes, those are the best words. C Pros are the best fittings. I can't tell you guys and stress you guys enough. I don't care what people say. These C Pro fittings are amazing. Many modders across the world have told me they love these fittings. And I definitely have had firsthand experience to know why. Going from a traditional fitting to these C Pros changed the way I water cool.
Changed your life.
And I mean, you know, it also gave me a lot of good options too, with as far as like, you know, how I would do the bends or like what you guys saw, just a little bit. That's just a little bit. I think next week we're going to do the View 51.
Yes.
We're going to do a distro plate and we're going to do more hard tubing. Maybe we'll do some little bit more stuff, you know, try to explain what I can as we kind of go forward here with the channel. We appreciate you guys being out, hang out with us here on the channel. I mean, yeah, I thought it was a good day. Good stuff with the bends. Got everything pretty cut and dry, right? Nice, clean, straight lines. It's not that hard. Hopefully some of this stuff will help you guys out. View 37, wow. You know, I loved building the View 37. If I got more people talking about that, you know, if anything, join our Discord. If you haven't jumped into our Discord, join in our Discord. Let me know. What would you guys like to see next? We have a section in there for Thermaltake Live. Go into our stream follow-up group. Drop in what you guys would like to see. I thought about doing P3, View 51. We'll do it all. It's not like we're going to only do a couple. But as far as what you guys would like to see next, for all my viewers hanging out at home on a Thursday, and what you guys want to see, I appreciate any feedback you guys could give us in the Discord. If you're watching this now live or you're watching this later and everything, if you want to see more specific case, something like that, pretty sure I got it. And we can go forward and get this guy built up and show you guys some fun things on how to do it actually in the system that you're maybe looking to buy. Or just get some tips and tricks on how to do it for something more generic as far as just doing the bends and everything. I'm trying to give you guys the whole package here. And appreciate you guys coming out today. Appreciate you guys coming out. And yeah, I completely agree. Once you go distro, you really can't go back. I'm excited to do that next week and everything with the View 51. I don't know, should we do black or snow? Let me know. What do you? Oh, and Steve wants to say hi. Steve loves you guys too. We appreciate you guys being here.
Talk to me, I'm lonely.
Yeah, anything, follow up with us here on Discord. Again, this is Thermaltake Live here. I am your host, Thermal Mike, and we are live here with our new channel, both on Twitch and on YouTube. And we appreciate you guys being here. We hope you guys learned some stuff, especially building with Thermaltake cooling. And we're definitely going to be doing more. Stay tuned for next week as we play around with the View 51. She's thick, lots of space, lots of cooling. And if you guys are on Twitch and everything, check out tomorrow. We might have a special stream doing some Call of Duty Cold War once I get my feet wet tonight when it comes out. And we'll be playing on one of our LCGS systems. So stay tuned for that. We might have a surprise stream showing up on Friday. Guys, come hang out. Check out the new Call of Duty Cold War game that we have bundled with our LCGS systems. So if you buy one of our LCGS systems with a participating RTX 30 series card in it, you'll get a free copy of Call of Duty Cold War. And that's not even it. That's not even it, folks. We'll stop. There's more. Oh my God. Well, they also throw in GeForce 1-year membership. So that's kind of cool. I mean, you know, and you're just getting that for either buying the card or buying the card in a system. And Thermaltake LCGS is one of the participating system integrators for that. So we're very happy to be on board there with NVIDIA. Big props thanks to NVIDIA. RTX on, baby. But yeah, stay tuned for that and we'll have more going on. And until next time, I hope you guys stay cool with your water cooling.
And stay tuned.
And stay tuned for more, as we'll have some fun stuff coming up next week. And again, I'll see you guys. All right. Enjoy your Thursday. I'm liking these jams. Good music and everything like that. Just chilling and building, hanging out. Get some nice straight lines, guys. Just bam, bam. Yeah, you guys take care too. Thanks for jumping in. Hey, I appreciate it, man. You've been here like the whole time. Thanks so much.